How do you speak fluently in English? How do you speak confidently in English? How can you improve your English communication skills? This is by far one of the most requested video on this channel, guys. And today I have got 6 simple steps for you on how to improve your spoken English. And now I don't come from an English speaking household, and everybody in my house actually speaks or communicates in Hindi, and I am also Indian. But when we were growing up, my mother, my mom, my ammi paid a lot of attention to improving our spoken English. She made a lot of efforts. She made us do so many different exercises, learn everything about grammar, sentences, structures, all of that. Just basically train us to speak well in English. Now I understand a lot of people do not have the privilege or the environment to grow up in a space like this. Okay, which is why the steps that I am sharing with you today can be tailor-made to fit your situation, no matter what situation you are in, to improve your spoken English at any age. Hi everyone, my name is Shalima and welcome back to my another session of learning English and improving your English speaking skills with me. So before we get on with the tips, have any of you guys ever wondered why we are not able to speak well in English? Despite the fact that most of us have English as a subject in school, and most of our textbooks are also actually in English. So now there are 2 potential reasons for this. One is that we are taught English the wrong way in schools. I am a teacher, I am teaching in a school, but still I am saying this. It's just a subject. We don't have enough, incentive to want to make it a part of our life. And that's because whatever we are also taught in English is pretty boring, and everything is done for the purpose of getting good grade. So that kind of sucks all the fun out of learning a new language. This reason by Dr. Stephen Krashen, which suggests that you become fluent in a language when you interact with things that are so interesting in that language. Okay, that you forget that they are not in your native language, but that doesn't really happen in school. And the second reason is that English is just not a part of our day-to-day lives, right? You are surrounded by people who speaks in your native language, who speaks in Hindi. So if you grow up in North Indian, that's mostly likely Hindi, right? If you grow up in Southern India, that's a bunch of different languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. Nobody is actually speaking in English. And so there is also not enough incent for you to make yourself uncomfortable enough to speak a different language. But because of these 2 reasons, what ends up happening is that you become this person who always gets anxious when they do actually need to communicate in English. Now, whether we like it or not, English is more or less a universal language. It is the language of professional communication. So I want you to overcome your fear. I want you to start getting confident while speaking in English and become fluent in this language. Our environment has a huge impact on how we speak and what language we speak, and what we hear is how we think, and how we think is what we speak, right? There's another research by this German scientist, Dr. Kathleen Warren, who found that babies as young as 2 days old understand the tone of their native language. She analyzed the sound of crying of 60 newborn babies, and they realized that it actually resembles Okay, the melody of their native language. This means our environment, starts to shape us since we born. So if you really want to change your old habit of not communicating in English, and if you want to learn the new skill of communicating in English, you have to start incorporating it into your environment, right? And the easiest way to do this is to change the medium that you consume content in. So whatever you are watching, try watching it in English. The reason that I am so fluent in English and I have gotten better over the years is because I consume English content. All the show that I watched, any YouTube video that I watch, anything that I am watching in terms of the news, etc., everything is in English. I consume content primarily in English. The only time that I consuming Hindi content is when I go to watch a movie in the theater. Okay, but sometimes it rarely happens. Okay, and as a result of that, I am able to pick up all these different cues. I am able to improve my sentences, the structures on the go. All right, and everything become better just with simple practice, simple exposure therapy. I just expose myself to the English language on a continuous basis, and that's exactly what you need to do, guys. All right, even if you don't understand it completely, even if you understand parts of it, it's actually start by exposing yourself to more and more content in English. For example, guys, I would like to give you one example. If you like personal growth content, watch YouTubers, okay, who creates the content in English. If you are trying to build a fitness routine, watch creators who are giving you advice on fitness in English. Whatever you enjoy, consume that content in English, and then you will automatically start to enjoy consuming English, all right, as well. So now doing this actually helps you in more ways than one you get used to listen in English, and over a time it will feel really natural, and you don't have to translate it into your native language. Okay, and it helps you to learn the correct pronunciation of complex words. And 3, you learn the informal terms or slangs that people use in everyday English. All right, you have to understand that how you write in a language is very different from how you speak in a language, right? When you write in Hindi, your writing should Hindi, but when you communicate or speak in Hindi, it's very colloquial slangs based version of Hindi. It's so that's the same thing with English, and consuming content actually helps you to understand what conversational English sounds like, and for you conversational English like. All right, and 4, you actually gain interest specific vocabulary over a time. Your vocabulary, your knowledge of different words used in the space increase. For example, if you somebody who loves skincare content, right, so following a beauty creator who actually creates content, skincare content in English, not only helps you know the latest trend in the skincare industry, but it also helps you learn the words, okay, and the phrases that you can use in your daily conversation. And if this is also too advanced for you, or if you are at just basically starting out with very basic English, I would actually suggest watching shows and cartoons, okay, that are made specifically for kids, right? I will actually link few references channels for like kids content in the description. This language is super simple, super easy to understand because it's made for kids. All right, it helps you to build your English form to the ground up. All right, once you feel comfortable with them, you can then move on to more advanced content. All right, another thing I also recommend doing when it comes to consuming content is reading. Consuming content is reading more books in English, and this can actually easily help you to add 3 to 4 new words to your vocabulary every time you finish reading a book. Reading book actually also helps you to improve your sentence structures and grammar, and that's a double win. Every other tip on this list is irrelevant, guys. If you don't actually practice speaking in this language that you want to get fluent in, right? You can consume content, you can read more books, you can watch more videos, but if you are not actually speaking well, then you are not improving. Okay, so your English now, most people who are not well versed with English try to avoid speaking in English in social setting because they are too afraid to make mistakes. All right, and they are afraid that they are going to freeze mind sentences, okay, or say something that will not make sense. But most of all people are just afraid to make a fool out of themselves, and this fear is completely valid. But I'll say it again, you cannot get fluent in English unless and until you start speaking in English, right? So now I'm not immediately going to ask you to go to a room full of people and just start speaking. That's not what this is about. So one of the easiest and the safest way to practice your English speaking skills is by using a process called imitation. All right, where you basically watch a piece of content in English and then try to summarize or speak about it, okay, in your own words, right? And I would suggest go a step further and record yourself while you are doing this exercise. So let's say that you watched a 5-minute YouTube video, right? Once you watched, if you are going to come back to sit in front of your phone, switch on your camera and then record yourself. Summarize what you just watched, okay, but in English, not in your native language. It should be in English. Now this actually serves two purposes. All right, one, it acts as your video journal, right? And you need to see that you are improving to stay motivated, but sometimes you get so obsessed with your final goal that you don't realize how far you have already come. And when you record yourself, you can easily track your progress, okay, and stay on track and stay motivated and to speaking in front of the camera. The second one is to speaking in front of the camera like this gives you a very different kind of confidence. I can say you feel much more, calmer in social setting than you usually do so, okay. This is not just a tip to improve your English speaking skills, but it is a complete personality booster. A few other exercises you can try doing this, okay. You can watch my other videos where I have shared a lot of exercises and study plans, so you can watch other videos also of mine. And guys, try doing with this video journaling method is describing your day. At the end of every evening, switch on your phone camera and describe how your day went in English, okay, how your day went in English. Another thing you can do is choose an item in your room and spend 2 minutes describing that item or speaking about that item with whatever information that you can come up with while you are recording yourself on your phone or camera, and both of these also serves the same purpose. Now keep in mind, guys, that when you start out this exercise, you will probably speak well 3 to 4 seconds, 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, okay. Or after that you will want to switch to speaking in your native language. That is where the real challenging begins. You will most likely fumble a lot and you will even forget the most basic words that you already know, and you might feel like giving up. But once you start doing this for a week straight, I promise you guys that you will get better, and because you are facing all of the struggle in the privacy of your own room, nobody else is seeing it, you are actually much better off. and you will actually be a lot of more confident. Okay, and the next time that you have to step out to speak somebody else in English, all right. Now most of us struggle to speak fluent in English because we do not even know what we want to say. And guys, no, it's not just because you have a limited vocabulary. Vocabulary is actually not so much of an issue when it comes to speaking fluently in English. If you can communicate something in your native language, trust me guys, trust me, you can also communicate it in English also. Okay, you know enough words for that. That is not the issue. Okay, and that the issue is that when you don't regularly speak in English, you don't actually learn how to think in English. You are thinking in your native language, and before speaking you have to translate everything in your thinking into English, and then you have to speak. So it's a multiple step process. That is where the problem occurs. All right, we speak well in the language that we think in. So if you are not thinking well in English, you are not speaking well in English. All right, so I have uploaded 2 or 3 videos on thinking in English. You can watch that video. The easiest way to change that is the 10-minute journaling English every night before you go to bed. Grab your notebook, find a spot in your house, get comfortable and start journaling. Okay, I would suggest to start by journaling by about your day, right? About how your day went and what you did, what you liked or what you didn't like, everything. All right, you can write to summarize your day in one single page. All right, now journaling does a couple of different things. One, it gives you clarity of thought. Okay, and when you are continuously writing in English, when you practice this skill every single day, it trains you to get clarity of thoughts in English. Okay, it trains your brain to think in English. Secondly guys, it trains your brain to process your feelings in English instead of processing them in your native language. So this actually is a non-skippable step. It only takes 10 minutes of your time and gradually you will become even faster. I can now sit and summarize my entire day, fill one page with writing in less than 5 minutes. So it is not difficult, it just take a little bit of your consistent effort. But while you are doing this exercise, keep in mind that the purpose is not to improve your English, because if you sit down to journal with that purpose in mind, that you are actually going to draw a blank page, you are going to struggle to write anything, because your brain will automatically tell you to make it perfect, and if you are not being able to make it perfect, then you won't be able to write. Right? So the purpose of your journaling exercising is to process your feelings, to write about your day, to think about how your day went, and to gain clarity of thought. And the English bit of it actually happens on a autopilot. So you don't have to consciously worry about it. Just make sure that you are journaling for the purpose of journaling. It just happened to be doing it in English, and it's completely okay. Even if you are writing only a couple of sentences for the first time, for the first few days, as long as you are writing every single day, like I mentioned before, vocabulary is the last thing that you need to worry about that guys when you are speaking in English, because you already know enough words. I promise you that what you need to focus on is how you are forming your sentences and how well you understand the language from the grammatical perspective. Now the reason that you all think that I speak so well in English is because I have a very solid command over the English grammar and over sentences structuring. If somebody else is speaking in broken sentences, if their grammar is off, you might not be able to tell immediately why it feels off, but you will know that something is off, right? Think about it from this perspective. You could learn 10, 15, 100 different words in a language like French, but does not that mean that you can speak well in that language. Okay, well, probably not, which is why you need to focus more on improving your grammar and your sentences structure. Okay, so now how do you do that? In one is reading books, obviously, now, because that does helps you to understand how sentences are, strung, structures look like, and this all happens on autopilot in your brain. Okay, just reading more English will help you to get there. This is because before a book is published, multiple editors go through several different rounds of editing, and goal of each of these editor is to produce an easily understandable error free book. All right, so this is why it is one of the best source to work on your grammar, on your sentence structure. Now guys, one more question comes in our mind, that why we don't want to speak in broken English, and that is why we want to be perfect in English, because before we speak, and overcoming your ego is just as important as overcoming your fear of embarrassment. And how do you do that? Start by acknowledging that your ego is in fact one of the reason that is stopping you from getting fluent in English. A few things that can help you to tackle both your ego and your fear of embarrassment are: one, taking criticism as feedback. It is okay if you make a mistake while you are learning how to be fluent in English. Even native English speakers cannot speak perfectly, guys. Do you know how many times this video had to be cut in the middle because of the fumbles that I had here? Okay, a little sneak peek of that. It is the language of professionals communication, and which is now keep in mind that when you are starting with this exercise, everything that okay, summarize everything. Everybody makes mistakes, and even people who can speak extremely fluent, even people who don't even know any other language besides English, will make mistakes. Making a mistake does not mean that you cannot speak fluently. So if somebody is correcting you, if somebody points out a mistake that you had made, take that in your stride, take that as learning experience, and you will not feel embarrassed. All right, so anymore. And also, when you take criticism and feedback confidently instead of shying away from it without getting defensive, you actually come across as a very confident person. And the second thing that you need to remember here is that speaking fluently or speaking well in English is not a sign of being smart. You are not dumb if you are unable to speak fluently in English. All right, you are not dumb. Most of the time we feel that if we speak in broken English, then others will think that we are not intelligent enough. They see us as inferior to them, but that's just not true. Once you start believing this fact, you will actually become a lot of more relaxed, and when you are speaking, and that will also translate to you speaking more confidently. So guys, that's it for today's video, guys. If you liked the video, please give thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe my channel. So thanks for watching. Bye bye, take care.